But it's worth making the effort because it is the highest knowledge coming from the voice of God, coming from a prophet. Vivekananda became a tool, an instrument in the hands of Divine Mother, the highest force that has created this universe and has told us the mystery of the universe, the mystery of life itself. No knowledge exceeds this knowledge. It is the highest. What happens if you don't, read this, if you don't know this, and if you don't make any effort to understand this? And Swamiji clearly mentions actually why in this, I think in these books only he says, understand what this world is so that it won't hurt you. This is his own statement. I'm quoting Vivekananda verbatim. Understand what this world is so that it will not hurt you. So the problem is today there's a lot of suffering. We all know that. Every man, every human being has suffering. Rich man has suffering, poor man has suffering. An educated man has suffering, an illiterate man has suffering. Right? Everybody. Old man has suffering, a young child has suffering. Everybody has some kind of stress, some kind of anxiety, some kind of stress. The question mark that is there on the face is what is life? So unless and until you investigate into the nature of the life itself, whatever you may do in this life to make you, happy, the effort, the attempt that you make, it won't be successful because you have not understood the fundamentals of life. And that's the reason we have conceived this contest. We want to expose some of the best brains of this country to the highest wisdom of Swami Vivekananda. We've been conducting competitions for some time. Many of you actually are repeated participants. So the essence of all these lectures, if you want me to say in one sentence, Swamiji said repeatedly in these lectures that all life is one. The essence of Vedanta is unity. There that one God, that one truth, that one consciousness from which this world of name and form has come into existence. There are different versions of it. We say both actually. They say universe is created from God, by God, and it exists in God. And the Advaitins say that it has never been created, it's just an appearance, it's Maya. You have read that Raju and Sarpa, the snake and the rope analogy. So different versions are there, different perceptions are there. It depends upon where you are. If you have this highest purity in the mind, that you know that it's only an appearance, it's not real. So you know that in 2022, Nobel Prize in Physics actually gone to people who said that, the world doesn't really exist. It depends upon the observer. The observed objective world exists only in relation to the observer. So the next question should be, who is the observer? And when we say that who is the observer, I am the observer, then the next question should arise, who am I? See, the world of objective world exists in relation to the seer. The seen exists in relation to the seer. Who is the seer? I am the seer. Okay? When I am the seer, who am I? Am I this physical body? Am I this mind? Or something else exists in me? Who am I in reality? If I am just the body, you don't have to say my body, you are separate, your body is separate. And say my mind, you are separate, your mind is separate. That I-ness or minus that individuality and so-called personality, from where it comes from. What is its real nature? You have to investigate into it. Or people have done that in the past. The Upanishadic times, that time itself, they did it, this kind of investigation into the nature of a personality. When they went deep into themselves, they found that this I is really fictitious. There is no real I as such, this ego, what we call little individuality of personality. That has disappeared for them and they have gone beyond this body and mind. They have experienced, realized the infinite nature. And then afterward, they have declared that Shrunvantu Vishwe Amritasya Putraha. O human being, you are immortal, you are divine by essence. You are not just limited body and mind. This particularized individuality, this piece of consciousness which is identified with the body and mind, limits you. Let go your identification with the body and mind and experience your immortal nature. You're already God, you're already divine, but you have forgotten your divine nature. And you think you are the body. And that's how actually the concrete universe or the objective universe has come into existence or appearance. It's not really there out. So what you need to do is you have to investigate into the nature of your own real being, who you really are. And then that all the suffering ceases. That's what Buddha did. That's why we worship him and revere him. Buddha went into deep meditation because he wanted to know the source of desire. He has simply said that there is suffering in the world. The root cause of suffering is Trishna. From where this Trishna originates. So he wanted to go to the root of the Trishna. And strangely, that root, when he investigated into the nature of Trishna disappeared, or the mind disappeared. Trishna and mind are one and the same. They're synonyms. And when Trishna disappeared, he experiences the real nature, which is nirvana, which is a state. That state we have to experience, that's an experience which cannot be explained. It is not relative, it is absolute. The one existence from which the manifold universe has come into appearance. So that is how real nature, Swamiji again and again has said that in these lectures, that actually you are soul, your consciousness basically, you are not this limited, puny little individuality, body boast individuality. So you all have read these lectures thoroughly. I don't want to repeat the content as such, but here and there some beautiful points are there. I just want to elucidate on them a little. Like Swami talks about the ideal and real life. Today, many of us want, we want to reconcile the ideal with the life in the sense that we want to bring down the ideal because it's too difficult to practice, and we say that it has to be practicable. But Swami said that, see, why should it be comfortable? Why truth seek as truth? Seek truth for the sake of truth, whether it's comfortable or uncomfortable. Make yourself strong, make yourself bold to investigate into the nature of your real being and to seek truth. So there is one party which actually wants to reconcile the ideal with the life, and there is another group which wants to raise up to the level of the ideal. Swami said, you try to be the second person. You try to raise yourself up to the ideal, but don't bring down the ideal. That is comfortable or not comfortable. Seek truth for the sake of truth. And he has given many, many ideals. This first chapter, particularly Practical Vedanta 1. So he says the difference between weakness and strength, the difference between vice and virtue, the difference between hell and heaven, and the difference between life and death, and the difference between one individual and another individual, difference between animal and human being is only in the degree, it's not of kind. What is the difference between an amoeba and Buddha? What is the difference between an ant and a human being? In ant also the same divinity is there. Same consciousness is existing. In human being is also same consciousness is existing. The difference is in degree. And again between human being and human being. Somebody who is extremely selfish and somebody who is extremely unselfish. What is the difference? The same God is existing in both, but in the individual who is unselfish, the expression of the truth, the manifestation of the Lord is to a greater degree. So once you have this understanding in this universe, even the most selfish man will be able to love because they're also the same consciousness, same Lord is dwelling, but in a little lesser manner. Suppose you are a 100-watt bulb, a selfish man is a 5-watt bulb. A 100-watt bulb, somebody who is expressing the greater degree of divinity, will not hate a person who is actually manifesting only 5-watt, divinity, let us say. So what's actually, if you want to measure divinity in terms of watt, a selfish man is a 5-watt bulb and you are a 100-watt bulb. And you will not hate him. You will not actually look down upon him. Today we see in our society there are some people who practice morality, but they look down upon people who don't practice morality. They are scrupulous, they are actually honest, but their honesty also brings them ego. That I am honest, actually, I am uncorrupt. Okay, I am more ethical. So this can also will bring you. Sometimes it will strengthen your ego more than the person who is selfish and who is dishonest. He doesn't have as much as ego as you have. But this morality, this practice of little morality or ethics has brought such ego into your being, and you are far off from God. So there are relative terms, the so-called good and bad. They are not like absolute goodness and absolute, somebody is bad. His only difference is only in kind. That's the beautiful lesson that we can learn from this practical Vedanta lecture, practical Vedanta 1. Once you have this understanding that everybody will become an object of love for you. You will not hate anybody, you will not look down upon anybody because everything is a manifestation of the same divine. The difference is in the degree of manifestation. And you have a greater degree of manifestation. Somebody is able to express only lesser divinity, a lesser degree, and you will give your helping hand to that individual and help the individual, to grow, to manifest greater divinity. So this is the beauty of Advaita. Why Swami says Advaita is the basis of all morality and Advaita is the basis of all love. And you will be able to love everybody equally. So that's the reason Swamiji again and again would talk about this Advaita. And he says the dualistic religions, they are good, we need them. Because for the tender plant of the spirituality, for us actually to understand that impersonal principle is not easy. To say that God is all pervading spirit, and worship that all pervading spirit, it's not easy for us, because as long as we remain human beings, as long as we think and try to comprehend things through our mind, which is limited by time and space, something which is beyond time and space, for example, consciousness or God, we will not be able to worship directly. So we give the shape of an image. We concretize God for our sake, so that we can actually cultivate, love for God. We can actually relate ourselves to God, that impersonal being. So the personal actually is the highest reading of the impersonal by the human intellect. Swamiji defines it somewhere in the second or third chapter of Practical Vedanta. The impersonal is basically the highest reading of the human intellect of the impersonal. So we concretize God for our sake, because our mind cannot reach the impersonal abstract, which is infinite. We are now finite actually, because we have mind and body. Through finite, how to worship the infinite? So I give a concretized form, three-dimensional form to the infinite. But again, Swamiji said that the problem with this personalized God and this dualistic religions is this. Because my God versus your God. I worship God in one form, you worship God in another form. You give a different name to God, I give a different name. It's my name versus your name. I say my name is superior. You also ought to call God by only this name. And you will say that I ought to worship the God only the way that he worships or she worships. In the process, the conflicts will arise. If we just look at human history, bloodiest wars were fought in the past in the name of religion. Not here on Indian soil, but elsewhere. Across the globe, it has happened. And we all know that actually. So modern educated people sometimes think that religion does more harm than good, and it has done. If you look at history, in fact, that has happened really. More than political wars, the religious wars, more blood actually was shed in the name of religion. It has not happened in India because we have this Advaita. We know that God is one. You can call him by different names, and you have the choice to worship in whichever form that you choose to, or you love to worship. So that is the beauty of Advaita. And Sri Ramakrishna also said that have Advaita in your pocket and then worship God in whichever form that you like. In fact, Vivekananda's great guru, Sri Ramakrishna Paramhamsa himself was an idol worshipper, right? He worshipped this Divine Mother Kali in that image and had the spiritual experience. Vivekananda in these lectures has beautifully told that it's okay to have an image, to have an idol, to worship God, it's okay. But why do you actually need a stone image or a wooden image or a portrait to worship God, when the greatest image of God is already available to you in the form of a fellow human being, he says? The greatest manifestation of consciousness. You're able to see God in a piece of matter, in a piece of stone or a piece of wood. But why can't you see the God actually in a fellow human being where the highest manifestation of God is there? That's the difficulty. And we know Sri Ramakrishna, Ramakrishna Mission, many people consider it as a social service organization, not knowing that it's not a social service organization. It's a spiritual organization. Vivekananda again and again told, today we are constructing temples and temples and temples. Swami says human form is the greatest temple of God. And try to worship God in this form. And try to worship this God is already there, all around existing you in human form, the best expression of the Lord and the best form of the Lord. If you can't worship him in God, in this form, where else you want to see God? Where else you want to have God? See, through image only Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa had experienced God, but not everybody can become Ramakrishna Paramahamsa. And Vivekananda would say that there is a better form of worship that I will show you. This is the better form of worship. And to help people, actually, those who are interested to see God and know God, Vivekananda wanted to create a platform, and then just he has created his Ramakrishna mission. If young people are interested to see God. And so this worship of, man is, service of man is service to man is service to God. So it's not actually just a service, it's a worship of God. Because you are supposed to, this platform, Ramakrishna Mission platform, you are not actually serving human beings, you are serving the human form of God. And that is the highest form, that is the highest image according to Vivekananda, that he has spoken so eloquently through these lectures. And he says, and then the remedy for weakness is not brooding over weakness, but thinking of strength. Swami also beautifully says, never say that I cannot. But how do you know that? You know how much of power that is latent in you. Which scientist has ever discovered the true potency of the soul? The divinity already exists in you, but you are not aware of it. So the discovery of it and realization of it is just being aware of it. That's all. You've forgotten your real nature. So never say no, never say I can't, for you are infinite. When time and space are nothing compared to your real being. And again, assert your real nature. And Swamiji gives the analogy of wave and also in the ocean. And the wave has forgotten the ocean, that's all. We can never be disconnected from God. That infinite is always available to us. Only thing is, we have forgotten that infinite divine nature of our being. And the meditation, prayer, the selfless service and repetition of God's name. These are all the different methods and practices that are available to us to help ourselves actually manifest that divinity to a greater extent. So, what is there to be taught more in religion than oneness of the universe and faith in oneself? This is a beautiful statement that comes from the second chapter of Vedanta, I think, practical Vedanta. Faith in oneself and this divinity of human being, that you're already divine. You are already actually one with the Supreme. The whole universe is one. Same Lord, same divine actually manifesting through every form. This manifestation, this expression is only like a dream. Okay, this is a you know but little of that which is within you, for behind you is the ocean of infinite power and blessedness. And would ask everybody to meditate on that. Meditate on that blessedness. I am divine. I am not the body. I am not the mind. I am that consciousness. I am the supreme spirit. Day and night, if you think on that and meditate on that, you'll become one day. You realize that. So he gives different definitions for this divinity. At one point, Swami says love. Love binds, love makes for that oneness. It's a manifestation of one love throughout, actually. So this is the name, another name that is given to divinity. One place Swamiji calls it the divine, another place he calls it self, another place he calls it consciousness. Here he calls it actually love. Again, they're all synonyms. You may use the whichever word that you like. Everything that makes for oneness is truth. Everything, every action that helps us go Godward is a good action, and every action that helps us actually to become more contracted, takes us away from our own divinity, is a bad action. If Swamiji actually defines it elsewhere. So no sin, Vedanta doesn't recognize sin. That also you have come across, you have studied. In Semitic religions, particularly in Christianity and Islam, this idea of sin is there. The human being has come into this world means you are sinned, and that's the reason you are put into this bondage, and you have to pray to God, and you get out of this, bondage and go to heaven. So essentially, they say the very form that you have got, human form, means you are already a sinner. You have sinned, and that's the reason you have got this form. You are in bondage, and to come out of the bondage, actually, you have to pray to God. There are dualistic religions. We also have the dualistic religion. But Advaita says, particularly this philosophy says that, okay, you have bondage. They don't use the word sin. They only say it's an error. Humanity travels not from actually sin to purity. Swami says from lower error to, lower truth to higher truth. Truth to truth, he says beautifully elsewhere. But how can there be a journey from truth to truth? You're already truth. There cannot be any journey from truth to truth. There cannot be any journey. And Swami says no. Okay, if you don't want to use the term from truth to truth, say from lower truth to higher truth. Presently, we are in lower truth, identified with the body and mind. And when you let go that body identification, the body and mind, you will reach that higher truth. So even the sensory experiences that we get, and all the experiences that we craft for in this world, they are not at all sin. They're not at all even mistakes. That is a lower life. And you have a higher possibility. Explore that higher possibility. They will give you, but only drops of happiness. This little happiness that we get through sensory pleasures is also a drops of a little, a fractional, infinitesimal fraction of that happiness, which is Brahman. And what you are getting is you are so contented, you are already constipated in your, in your goal also, in your objective also. You are trying to satisfy yourself with these little drops of pleasure, whereas actually the infinite ocean of pleasure, infinite ocean of bliss actually is available to you. That possibility actually, we are all actually forgetting. We miss that possibility because we think that all people around us also are living the same way, and we think this is life and there's nothing more and nothing higher possible to us. So these prophets and these messengers of God come in our midst to remind us of our real nature. They will come in our midst and say that, oh, human being, you are not just a mortal. You are not just this little body and mind. There is that infinite self. There is that infinite consciousness. There is that infinite divinity behind you, that infinite love behind you. Experience your real nature, experience your divine nature, and then be one with God, be one with the Supreme, be one with your Creator. That is the possibility that you have as a human being. Had we come here into this world as an animal, we need not think about that. Anyway, we can't think because we don't have that kind of intellectual capability, cerebral capacity. But once you come into this world as a human being, God has endowed you with this possibility, but you never think about that possibility. Almost 70% of the life is spent for most of the people, or 90% of the people before it. They think a little about the spirituality, the purpose of life, and the goal of life. Battered and bruised by, so much of suffering in the world, and at the fag end of life, after 60, 65, people want to contemplate and think about God. But where did Krishna teach the Bhagavad Gita? In the midst of battlefield. What it symbolizes? Life is a battle. Krishna wants to tell us that life is a battle. You need to equip yourself to face that battle. So here is the armor. Here is that mail I am giving you. Okay, what is that? The philosophy that he has given through the Bhagavad Gita. So he had given it to Arjuna in the midst of the battlefield. Life is a battle. Empower yourself, equip yourself with that armor, and then get into the battle. Then you will become victorious. Today, we have this understanding that this book, Bhagavad Gita, also we have to read after 60. How you think you will be able to understand the genius of Krishna after 60 when you're jaded and faded? All your faculties are drained and you have become weak and senile. Now you think actually you can apply your intellect to read a book like Bhagavad Gita. Are we not insulting God to that kind of understanding? So again, Bhagavad Gita is in Sanskrit. Of course, the purport is available in regional languages. And though people are also struggling to understand and to make the best of the Bhagavad Gita, and Vivekananda, in fact, all his teachings are the best commentary on the Bhagavad Gita, particularly the four yogas. And these practical Vedanta lectures are also a kind of gist of the Bhagavad Gita. Whatever Krishna has given there, Swamiji has put it in English and has given the gist of it. You know, all the lectures were given to Western audience because Swamiji knew that they were completely new to Vedanta. And so he had simplified it and put it in the simplest form possible. From zero, actually, he has started and explained it point by point and logically that this is the one religion, this is the one philosophy which you can actually understand. The rational appeals to the rational brains. If you have a rational brain, Swami also said in these lectures only, many of the intelligentsia, many of the bright intellects and the people actually they're indifferent to religion today because most of them think that religion is a kind of belief, religion is kind of personal belief, and it's not scientific. That's the idea that they have. And particularly in the West, actually, people have this kind of understanding. And here also, many people who practice religion, but not as jignasus, not as actual seekers after truth. They also believe in so many things, certain things. And sometimes, they tend to become more superstitious also. There is a lot of this deadwood actually in this vast forest of religion, and that has to be removed actually if you really want to understand the essence of religion. And when the weak people come to religion to practice it, they will hold on to superstitions. When their number is more, actually they misrepresent religion. And because of that, and the real people, the people who have the brains, who have the capacity to practice religion, sincere way and experience the truth, they get disgusted because everything about religion is fraud, everything about religion is unscientific, everything about religion is superstition. That's not this. Upanishad says, Nayamatma Balahinena Labhyo. This Atman, this spirit, this consciousness cannot be experienced by a weak man. It requires intellectual clarity and greatest strength to control your mind and the senses and to experience the truth. And be a hero. Kaschit dhiraha pratyagatman maikshat avrta chakshu amrtatvamichan. The Upanishad says, some hero, a man of exceptional strength, actually will turn his attention inward. Let me know myself. Let me know who I am really. And with that kind of mindset, actually turns his attention inward and then experiences the truth from within. And then he declared, such stages only declared as Shrunvantu Vishve Amritasya Putra Aye Dhamani Divyani Tastu. Vedahametam Purusham Mahantam Adityavarnam Tamasah Parastat. This Purusha, this self, this Atman, Tamasah Parastat, Adityavarnam. This is of the light of the sun, is much brighter than the sun. Swamiji beautifully quotes in the lectures on lectures from Colombo to Almor only. Again and again, actually, he has quoted from the Kathopanishad. Natad bhasayati suryo nashashanko napavakaha yadgitva nanivartanti tadhama paramam mama. From Bhagavad Gita, he has quoted. And also, he has quoted from the Kathopanishad. That's actually the mantra which he liked very much, actually. Uh, so, what the essence of his teachings, if you really look at it, why Swami in all these four lectures of practical Vedanta, so the emphasis is this Vedanta actually it says that the world is one. And today we need this philosophy more than before because you know that we are on the threshold or the cusp of a third world war, it appears, the kind of geopolitical development that we witness around us. And this philosophy that humanity is one species, we are all one. Geographically, we may be inhabiting different regions, different places. Nationality may be different. These are all the lines that which we have drawn. God has not drawn any line between country and country. We human beings have drawn these lines so that we can form it in an administrative group because the whole world cannot be administered as a single administrative unit. And that we forget sometimes that. And we think the person who is living across the border is my enemy, forgetting that we both actually are the same species. That's why actually, people are actually the people who are at the helm are uh, saying on every international platform that Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam, the world is one family. This world is one family, this Advaita, non-duality, that we are all one. Not just we have kinship with animals also. They are our brothers. They have their lesser manifestation of God, but they are our brothers. We are all children of God. The children of God mean not just human beings, but animals and subhuman species also. This Advaita actually helps people actually to exude, to radiate that peace, to radiate that confidence, to radiate that fearlessness. And because all is one, fear comes because then there is duality. You are separate, I am separate. Your interest is actually my interest. We both are come in conflict with each other. But once you know that actually you are me in another form, I am you in another form, where there will be conflict, there will be less of a conflict in the world. There will be more of love and more of peace and more of understanding. And that's how actually you can improve the quality of human life through this kind of knowledge only. There is no other choice for all of us. So these are all the beautiful lessons because as young people and as the citizens of this country, we want to uh, help you and empower you and equip you to face the battle of life. With that intentionally, we have started these competitions. And I know that actually Vivekananda, to read Vivekananda, you're all also very, very busy with your academics. And most of you are studying in premier institutes. You've proven yourself already, by appearing and by participating in the great competitions of this country and could get that seat in the premier and prestigious universities and institutions. You have the brains, but I'm not. We also know that you're highly preoccupied, heavily preoccupied with your assignments and the curriculum and also the academics. So you have very little time. That's why the content we always wants to give you only small content, 90 pages, 100 pages, not more than that. So you'll make some time in spite of your busy schedules and apply yourself, to read this content, which will help you in every sense of the word. So today in our schools and colleges, particularly after the word that secular was inserted into the constitution, and they said that the intentional government says that religion is something personal. The state will not give you anything of that, philosophy or the spiritual wisdom that we have inherited from our forefathers. And through the curriculum, we are not going to put it as part of the curriculum. That is actually you have to get it, elsewhere. That kind of attitude has set in, and thinking that is also belief, whatever the spiritual wisdom. But what we forget is like Semitic religions, the Sanatan Dharma, the religion of Vedanta, is not a belief actually. It's a science of the highest order. And our people, our rishis and sages, just as actually scientists and technocrats investigate into the nature of the physical world, they have investigated into the nature of the subjective world and have discovered and found out certain truths. And if you make this experiment, you will also discover, you will also find the same truth, the way I have found. They have made a kind of scientific experiment, and not with an external object, but with themselves. So that's why it is the highest science, Raja Vidya. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Raja Vidya, Raja Guhyam. So it's profoundly mysterious, but it says Raja Vidya, king of sciences. Arjuna says to Arjuna, the subject to science, where is God? Where is the creator of this universe? I am connected to connected to the creator of this universe. Have this question, ponder on this, and actually invest some time and intelligence and energy in this direction, and then I will be immensely benefited. So after again marriage, we know that some of you might have got married, but you will not find that quality time. Again, you'll have a job and you'll have to manage your families. You'll be super busy, and you'll not get that quality time to read and comprehend great ideas like this which Vivekananda has given us. You miss that great spiritual wisdom that our forefathers have given, and millions of young people of this country today, they are not acquainted with the teachings of Vivekananda, whose birthday we celebrate as a Nation Youth Day. The youth of the nation, they don't know the teachings of the icon of the youth of this country. It's very unfortunate. And of course, we have been trying for some time to government, and we are trying to get something introduced into the curriculum. And the government has the intent, it has the will, but they are finding it a little difficult. This word secular is coming in the way, and some people might have some objection because your philosophy, this is your religion, this is your dharma, and we have our dharma, we have our philosophy. And we have our practices. So what we have forgotten is that this Sanatan Dharma is not a faith, it's not a belief, it is a science. It is a science. So any scientific mind, any rational mind, so somebody who has logic in his brain, it should appeal to that individual. Nothing actually, Vedanta doesn't ask you to believe in certain things. And because you're born into this faith, you're not born into dharma, you ought to believe it. Just as it is said in the book, no. They ask you to question, they ask you to investigate. They have made certain experiments. What kind of experiment they made, the forefathers? They have given us that experiment. You also make the experiment and get to the realization. Then all your doubts will get cleared. No doubt will remain with regard to life. What is life? From where I have come? Where I go? What is the death? Why I suffer? All these questions will get extraordinary right answers. And knowledge is strength. That's why we have made. I mean, the title of this contest is knowledge is strength. Real strength comes only through right understanding. When your understanding is not clear, when there is doubt in you, there's no clarity in your mind, it's impossible to make yourself fearless. And also, it's impossible to achieve concentration when there's a doubt and when there is fear in the mind. See, today the greatest problem in the world is not lack of clothing or lack of food or lack of shelter. Of course, they're struggling for these things. It's okay. But that is not the problem. Even the people who have all these things, basic necessities of life are provided for. They have every luxury under the sun available, but they're also suffering. The only reason for their suffering is they're not able to handle their thought and their and emotions to their advantage. That is the only problem. See, this machine is such a complex machine God has created. If you can radiate love, if you can radiate peace, if you can radiate kindness, actually there are positive emotions. Obviously, when you have positive emotions in your heart, you will have positive thought in your mind. The negative thought and negative emotions, they are eating into the every human being. And that's why they are peaceless and they're struggling and struggling. So this Vedanta, this understanding, this Advaita helps you, to generate positive emotions. And when you have positive emotions in your being, obviously, your thought also will be positive. When you have positive thought and positive emotion in your being, whatever may be the situation that you're placed in, the external situations vary from time to time. Okay, for different people will have different external situations. In spite of the situation, whatever may be the life around, whatever may be the situations, whatever may be the circumstances that you're placed in, your thought is positive or emotions are positive, then you are a beautiful human being. It's just actually, whether you create a hell of this world or heaven of this world. That completely depends upon you. It doesn't depend upon money and material things alone. That's what Vedanta philosophy says. You're already divine. You're already bliss personified. But only thing is, you're not aware of your divine nature. That's why Vivekananda would exhort us actually to remind us of our divine nature again and again. That's why actually the prophets and messengers of you know, God actually come, midst. So we have had so many such in this culture. And before Buddha, and before Buddha, we had Upanishadic sages. After Buddha, Adi Shankara, and it's a galaxy of sages and saints. But we don't get to study these teachings the way we ought to, study. And that's the reason very late in life we get exposed to some of the spiritual thought. By then it's too late. And we won't be able to put anything into practice. And you have suffered so much in your life. And to help you avoid that unnecessary suffering, we have been conducting these competitions just exclusively for the youth of the nation, 18 to 30. And of course, our team, our Aaryajanani team, is taking a lot of effort to collect funds and, uh, but of course, sometimes, we get little negative feedback also. Some children, youth who are competed to win the prize, the disappointment will be there and the disappointment will be huge. And they say that it's a technical problem, you could have taken care of that, you could have taken care of that. We are trying our best actually to minimize any such kind of errors. You need to understand that our intention is pure, and we know that whatever the little criticism or something comes, of course, a lot of positive feedback we have had, and we are really happy about it. And that, in fact, encourages us to conduct more of such competitions. We know actually you can't really, in monetary terms, evaluate what you have really got. Knowledge is truly strength, and getting exposed to Vivekananda, prophet of this age, at your age, is a blessing. It's a great blessing because you have had some good karma of your past, and that's the reason actually you could get exposed to these teachings and introduce actually your friends also to these teachings, and that will be the great help that you will be doing to them, and they'll be grateful to you for life. Immediately, they may not understand the value of the thing that they have got from you, but afterwards they will realize it. So I think I have exhausted my time. So thank you for your patient hearing, our children and young people. Once again, I would like to congratulate you on your success. May God bless you. May Swami Vivekananda inspire you and guide you ever.
Thank you very much, Maharaj, for making us understand the importance of this knowledge and how relevant it is in today's time. I would request the participants, if you have any questions, you can post it in the chat box. I'll read it out for Maharaj. Okay. So Maharaj Yash Pangar has a question. Swamiji, how do I counter hate that rises from me? During meditation, during my sadhana, everything feels good, world feels so positive, and inspiration rises within me. But the moment I complete it and come back to normal life again, the moment I open Twitter or Instagram, when I see today's youth, my blood starts boiling, hate starts rising in me, and this is only harmful for me because I cannot control it. This hate is only going to harm me.
See, this Advaita is the best antidote for anger and hate. You see, people are, we are not with bad people. We are only in bad times. Our rishis and sages have said that Kali Yuga, people's behavior will be like this. Why? Because they are helpless. The times are like that. Once you have this understanding, you will not hate anybody. Everyone becomes an object of love for you. And particularly when somebody is negative emotions, somebody is weak. See, somebody is immoral means what? He is weak. Somebody is selfish means what? He is weak. Somebody is radiating negative emotion means what? Hatred, he is weak. And a weak person, you need to empathize with that person. You need to show your love to that person. No, because he is radiating heat and I am also hatred and I also radiate hatred means what? Hatred cannot be conquered by hatred. And so you be a person of love, particularly when the people all around you are toxic and not able to radiate love and they are extremely selfish. And it's all the more important for you actually to manifest unselfishness and to manifest more love. So you be that. What role you want to play in this great drama of life? That actually God has given us the choice. So, see, you are a hero then. Definitely, you are a hero when you radiate love and when you radiate peace and when you radiate that, when you become unselfish. And to become unselfish and to become, a person of peace and to radiate that love, this Advaita, the intellectual clarity is important. All life is one. All life is consciously or unconsciously struggling towards the same goal. Every creature, from ant to Brahma, every creature in this universe is struggling to go back to their original divine nature from which the whole universe has come into existence. So some are little behind, some are little forward, that's our advanced. So we will be able to radiate that love when you have this Advaita. And I believe. And the problem is today, your material interest versus my material interest. We have learned to see each other as competitors. That's an unfortunate state of affairs because maybe population pressure and for the kind of education that we get in our schools and colleges. For example, there are 50 children in a classroom. The teacher asks actually the management and parents, you come class first. You try to stand class first. What happens that child who really wants to work hard and come class first, he tries to exclude the remaining 49 students. Practically, you make actually 49 students your enemies like that. Every person is trying to exclude others. But Vedanta teaches us include all as part of you. You try to compete with yourself. You try to do as best as you can. So what position you will get? Maybe others have done it better than you. You got the last position. It should be okay to you. Because I did my best. They did their best. Their best is much better than my best. It's okay. No, no. If everybody, if this competition only, that's why Swami said, kills the kindliness of the heart. Each has his own beauty. Everybody has his or her own beauty. There are so many livelihoods possible. Maybe everybody wants to become an engineer. Everybody wants to become a doctor. Everybody wants to become civil servants. I'd say that this, getting into the competition itself is unnecessary because there are so many other areas where actually you'll be able to contribute. You can make your livelihood. You can stand on your own feet. But we are not looking at that. The biggest problem with the Indian society is we don't live for ourselves, we live for the sake of the society. Not knowing the society is, after all, a group of individuals. If the individuals, thinking changes, the society thinking will also change. We want to actually cater to the crowd, cater to the mass. That is the biggest problem. You remove the idea of society from your mind. You're free. You don't do anything for the sake of society. Society is always, a majority or multitude counts for nothing, Vivekananda would say. Majority are in ignorance only all the time. If you ask, majority are fools only all the time. So they don't seek the highest knowledge. So forget about the society. This society consciousness, what the society thinks, because society values if I become a doctor, I want to become a doctor. What's my personal interest? What is my personal aptitude? I don't consider it. My parents they don't encourage me to consider that my aptitude. My teachers won't encourage. This is the malady that we have in our society. And we made certain occupations, we made certain callings, certain professions as sacred, and certain as actually not so sacred are very low. That's the problem. The dignity of labor, which West has, we don't have in India. And this is the problem, struggle of the middle class. They all live for each other. It's a highly conditioned society when it comes to social matters. We need to uncondition our minds. Every work is sacred. And there is less of pressure on children, there is less of stress. Okay, then this Advaita helps us in that way. The struggle is about how to survive. This is the problem. We don't have faith in God. The Lord says in the Bhagavad Gita, Ananyasyantayanto mamejana pripasate tesham mithyabhiyuktanam yogakshemam vahamyaham. So the problem is, why so much struggle for these basic necessities of life? Because we all have crowded into cities now, and the cost of living has gone up, and everybody else we have learned only to see as competitor, and money has become so important, and that's the reason. Okay, all this stress just to make both ends meet. All our knowledge, 20 years of study. You just look at an animal. Is there that much struggle within any animal for that matter? They don't store up anything. They don't store money. They don't store food. They don't store anything. But Lord is providing for them. Why we human beings have lost faith in God? Sometimes I really wonder why you have made life so complex. Life is simple, in fact. We, in our ignorance, have complicated it so much so that today, if you ask me, actually, animals are much better than human beings. Their common sense is intact. Our common sense is lost. You may say, big universities names. You may take up Harvard, Stanford, but this is a struggle. When there's more stress is there all the time. You just look at animals. So much you can learn. No animal has any stress with regard to how I can provide for myself, how I get food, how will I earn my food. So this is all. Life, we need to make it simple. Don't forget the society. Life becomes simple for you. You just live for yourself in the sense, whatever you really love to do, care to do, your real aptitude, real passion, you find out and do that. People may say that you are a crazy person, may say that you are a madcap. It's okay. Afterward, the world will know that actually they are mad, not you. Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa also, everybody considered called him a madman, mad Brahmin of Dakshineshwar. Today the world knows actually the world is mad. Ramakrishna Paramahamsa said, who is not mad in this world? Somebody is mad after money, somebody is mad after power and wealth, somebody is mad for name and fame. I am mad after God. Only the question is whose madness is good and whose madness is better. Through his madness, he attained immortality. Through our madness, we get death. That's all. Thank you, Bangarji. Hope I think I could make you understand.
Another question, Maharaj. Maharaj, please tell us how were your days in your early monkhood in Ramakrishna Mutt? How is the daily routine there?
The daily routine is very simple. We have to get up early in the morning at 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5 to 6 to meditation. We have to go to shrine and meditate. First 9 years, it is compulsory because we will be in white dress, called Brahmacharya period. After 9 years, they give the saffron. After 9 years, nobody will compel you, to get up at 4:30 and go to the temple. But you are free, but you have to do it. You have moral obligation because other juniors are there to set yourself as an example. And of course, Vivekananda was very, very strict with regard to this routine. So different people actually, sometimes the people skip and sometimes, this kind of complacency comes and afterwards nobody will compel you because you have come here after all on your own and don't expect somebody to do the job of a policeman or supervise over you. You decide for yourself what you really want. If you want to grow faster, if you want to have God in this birth itself, you have to struggle. Or actually, try to rely God in my own course of time. It's up to you. Then you're more susceptible to Maya. If you become complacent, definitely Maya will assault you in such a way that you will not even actually understand it till you get the blow. Fine, and afterwards we'll have breakfast and sometimes some chanting and some classes will be there for young novices. Once after you cross 9 years, the classes also won't be there for you. You'll be asked to take classes. And we'll be given some duty departments. Different centers have different kinds of activities. Depending on that, somebody will be in library, somebody will be in bookstall selling books, somebody will be taking care of a dispensary or health center if they have in that center. Somebody may be doing in a mobile dispensary, they may be going over there. Somebody will be doing puja in the temple shrine. Puja will be there. Somebody will taking care of maintenance in big centers particularly and the garden. And somebody will be in charge of kitchen and they will have to oversee, the activity in the kitchen. So these are the different kinds of activities. So we'll see in afternoon you can take some rest after 12, 12:30 we'll have lunch. Different centers have different timings. Again, evening that Vesper service will be there in the temple. You have to go and attend it in the temple around 6:30, 6:45. And yeah, afterwards some bhajans will be there in some centers. Some centers they won't be able. If they're mission center, mission centers means centers where school or hospital is a major activity. And in much centers means this Vesper service, the conduct spiritual retreats, sale of books, and more of the spiritual activity will be there in the sense, not that mission activity is not spiritual. And yeah, conducting spiritual retreats, selling literature, satsangs, singing bhajans. That is the major activity in a mutt center. Of course, today there is no such distinction. Every mutt center also there is some service activity going on. Every mission center also there will be a shrine, and where actual puja is done and evening vesper services are conducted regularly. Yes, afterwards again, evening some snacks or tea you can take, and it's up to you. Between 4 to 5:30, like the different centers will have different timings. Around 8:39, actually there will be some supper, dinner. Some they avoid if you as you grow older. So you know that you can't digest a good meal night, and you can skip that. That's, nobody forces you. Whatever that is available, you take whatever that want. And afterwards, some night class will be there so for 15-20 minutes, different centers. And then you can take rest. You can go. And some people go to bed at 10:30, some at 11, some at 11:30. Yeah, that's a simple routine only.
Thank you, Maharaj. Another question from Deepali Sharma. Why do morally good people possess ego of their honesty, integrity, and moral courage?
They don't want to become moral on their own because they want to become moral for the sake of the society. Then they feel superior about themselves. And so spiritually they, they fall down. So that's why this Advaita, what I just now I have said, somebody is dishonest, somebody is immoral. You want to empathize with this world and should show your sympathy to that individual, but you should not hate, you should not look down upon such individuals. If you ask me, actually, today we don't know why there is so much of corruption in the country. And because we have become so shallow, our understanding of life. And I am this body, and providing comfort to this body has become sole objective. And so much luxury is available outside. So let me provide as much luxury as possible to this piece of life. What I mean by this body, flesh and blood. And what is body? It is actually fights food. You know, after we die, we are burned, right? This body actually is the food for Agni Deva. What remains of this body is only little ash. 1 kg of ash is what remains of this after Agni Deva takes it as his food. It belongs to Agni Deva. For this, all the struggle, people will forget actually what as body, what you are a non-entity in this universe. As a physical entity in this mighty universe, what is our identity? We're a non-entity. But we have identified, so deeply identified with this body, and providing comfort, this body has become sole objective. That's the reason I need luxuries, and for that I need more money. So if I can't make money in the right way, then I'd go use dishonest means. And people don't know the possibility. You have the possibility to realize God, to know the infinite that has created the world. And you're already that infinite, it's so close to you, you've forgotten that. And you tend to become selfish and immoral. And you're paying heavy price. You're mortgaging your soul for the sake of little power and pelf and little comfort for this body, creature comforts. Very, very unfortunate. And you need to sympathize and pity such people. You should not hate them or look down upon them. Even a corrupt individual, I'm saying a selfish individual, because they're in ignorance, greater level of ignorance than you are in. And so you ought to show your pity and sympathy. And again, there are some people who don't want to become moral on their own accord, and because they want to show themselves off. You see, you are all corrupt, you are all, low people, and I am practicing honesty. Painfully he is practicing. It should be a joy to practice dharma. It should be a joy to practice morality. And you should be a love, personified love. You must radiate that love to others, actually. That is not there. This creates such a horrible ego. And the spiritual ego also will be there. I'm a spiritual person. I'm doing so much of sadhana. I'm holy, more holier than you. This kind of attitude also sets in sometimes. The ego has, multiple forms to manifest. That's the reason it's walking on the razor edge, the spiritual path. That's why we say, in our Puranic literature, Lord Vishnu actually sleeps on that milk ocean where actually is Adishesha with 1,000 hoods. The Lord is sleeping on it. This ego has 1,000 hoods. In how many forms it manifests, actually, you won't be able to detect it. It can manifest in multiple, 1,000 hoods it has. But even this ego, which has 1,000 hoods, which is Maya, is subservient to God. God is actually the boss who is commanding that Maya. That's why he is reclining on it. This Maya won't affect him. But Maya affects the rest of the creation, rest of the Prakriti. Only God is beyond Maya. Maya is his instrument. Using that instrument, actually, he has created this world. So when you surrender to that divine, when you worship him and pray to him, when you win his grace, okay, when he showers his grace upon you, and you will be able to overcome that Maya. This Adishesha basically represents Maya.
Thank you, Maharaj. There are other questions, but keeping the time in view, I think we will try to get the answers from Maharaj and reach out to the candidates. We have Anu ma'am with us today. She is the founder and the vice chairperson of Aaryajanani, constantly motivating us and setting an example of how to work. I would request ma'am to say a few words to the participants.
Yeah, thank you, Manshu. Humble pranam to Maharaj. So, yeah, so I've been actually listening to this lecture and always have this opportunity to be able to interact with Maharaj and also off and on with the youth. And we are very, very fortunate to have these multiple opportunities, I would say. Now, in that very quickly, I mean, I'm sure all of you will be wondering, what is this concept of Aaryajanani, the name itself, and why are we doing this multiple different kinds of things? So just to remind us and tell us and give a thread of that vision of Maharaj, to be able to weave this thread, I will try to explain very quickly. So, as we know, like modern education is basically to build a career, right? It is very important. But apart from career, what is missing is that what Maharaj described is the character formation. So, Aaryajanani, through these youth contests, online contests, is trying its best to, however possible ways. And like we see, there are pluses and minuses in every way. But through these contests, we are trying to build character by exposing the youth to great people, individuals like Rama, Mother Sita, Swamiji, Mother Sharada. So all these things have been a great, it's an experiment and experience for the team from our side. Now, with this character, what happens is next thing that we realize is that thing of building relationships. And that is where you have a huge amount of selflessness, unselfishness, which again, we all keep talking about. So, with character and selflessness, which we provide through relationship kind of workshops, through our we frame them as premarital workshops, but it's mainly to build relationships and to leave yourself and think of the other person more than you, which establishes much more in a relationship of a partnership. So, through premarital workshops, we actually expose you to that great knowledge. Now, from there, when the young men and women, the most important duty for all of us there is to create the new world. Now, with these two things, a great character and selflessness in our hands, we can actually think of creating the future generation. And that is where Arijani is doing its main focus of work, which is the parenthood workshops that we offer. And only through this method of taking the youth from their very, very young adulthood to that very important selfless work of being a great parent, to be able to show this world that great child through prayers. And that is why we say Janani means the parenthood along with prayers. And that is only the Aryan, that is the creation of a new birth, new life through prayers. So all this together comes the form of Janani through online contests, premarital, pre-pregnancy, and pregnancy workshop, which is meant mainly for all our men and women. So please take all the work which is being offered. And now we have a lot of volunteers from you all as youth to actually help us in this work. And we are very, very grateful to all of you all to be with us in this journey. And we hope that the team keeps increasing to be able to go towards this one journey for all of us to create an empowered human race, which is like with all peace, without any wars, without any other motive in our minds other than to reach God. Thank you very much, Himanshu, for this opportunity. And I'm sure there'll be other few announcements to go forward. Thank you, Himanshu.
Thank you, ma'am. Yeah, like ma'am said, we have a couple of announcements before we end the session. So the first announcement is we'll be happy if any of you would like to volunteer for Aaryajanani, and if you are interested, we would share a form in the chat box or in the group, and you can please fill it and reach out to us. And the second announcement is the scholarships would be sent out by October 1st, scholarship amounts, and the certificates you will receive them by 15th of October at most. And we are also planning to have some more interactive sessions where we could all learn together. We are planning to have them on bi-weekly basis, on probably on Sundays. So the details of these sessions will be shared in the group very soon. And one more request to all the participants from our end is to avoid any misinterpretations or deviations or long discussions in the group. The one or two pages that we are trying to share on a daily basis, we would request everyone to limit your message to one paragraph or one message where you read the content and put your perspective on the message shared. So that way everybody will get to know the different perspectives of the same message that has been shared, and at the end of the day probably we can try and consolidate all our learnings. So this would save time for most of us and make our effort more productive. So that's all with the announcements. We will thank you Maharaj for all your time and sharing such beautiful thoughts. Thank you Anu ma'am. We will
Thank you all. Thank you all.
so we will the form is shared in the chat box. You can please fill the form and share back to us if you are willing to volunteer. Thank you everyone. We will end the session with a prayer.
Kindly join me for the ending prayer. Shanti Mantra. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.